All right, welcome, welcome. I am so excited. I'm Reverend Erin-Ashley Carity, and I have a guest today. Christina Caudill of Radiant Astrology is with us to tell us all about this really exciting time that we've got going on with the eclipse, to kind of explain all of the energies. At the time that I'm recording this, in the past 2 days, I have received about a dozen messages from people who are asking me, what is going on? Why am I feeling anxious and overwhelmed? What in the world is happening? And so I wanted Christina to come in and tell us what in the world is happening. She's my personal astrologer, and she's very amazing at what she does, and she's got some great info for us. So Christina, welcome, and thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Erin-Ashley. Thank you so much for inviting me. This is
You're
exciting.
welcome. Yes, it's really exciting. We've done this before, but it's been over a year. So anyway, what I'd love to know, like, what in the world is going on? Like, we were talking about this through Facebook, and I was like, what's happening? And will you talk to my people about it? And you were nice enough to say yes. So please tell us, what in the world? What?
Yeah. Well, you know what's great, Erin-Ashley, is I love, because I know you're in my tribe, the Radiant Astrology tribe, and I often come to you when we have things like solar flares and things that make us feel sort of like kind of wacky, like, and we don't know like how to sort of calm the system. And I know you always have some really great tips. And I love working with sensitives, because before anything comes out, like in the media or whatever, they know, they're feeling it, they know there's something going on, and I want to like figure it out or know how to handle it. And see, that's really the key is we are in eclipse season, right? It officially started this past Sunday on the new moon, the Leo new moon. And so we're leading up to this great American eclipse is what they're calling it. Which is August 21st. And we'll talk a little bit about this whole eclipse portal that we're in right now. But just to give a little background on eclipses, eclipses are times when basically the light of consciousness, we consider the sun and the moon the two lights in astrology. And so they actually symbolize our consciousness. And, as we know, the moon controls the tides, right? And we are like 75, 80% water. So of course we will have an effect when the moon is, say, for instance, full or when it's new. And we actually, these eclipses are a full moon. One's a full moon, one's a new moon. But they are aligned with what we consider the nodes of the moon or the nodes of destiny. Some people call them the nodes of fate. So there's plenty of fated events, a lot of synchronicity. I don't know about you, but I've been seeing a ton of repeating numbers lately, like all day long, every day.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, like more than usual.
Much more than usual. I've seen them a lot. I even saw them earlier today. I wasn't looking for them. They just were showing up.
Mm-hmm. And so, we were speaking earlier that the veil between worlds is the thinnest. I mean, this is something throughout all cultures and throughout time that we know about eclipses is, this veil between our worlds and other dimensions, if you want to consider it that, is the thinnest. So we have messages coming through. We can more easily access things like our intuition, our connection with our ancestors, our guides. And I know we were talking before that, this can be a little nerve-wracking for some people. I know a lot of your people, you train them on how to actually like connect with guides and not be afraid. So that's why the work that you do, I think, is especially important right now, because people, depending on how adept they are at connecting with other realms, they can, it can scare people. They might not know, is this light energy or dark energy or whatever. And this is an especially, important time for us to know how to handle that. And so I know you had said it's about your intention, right? Like when you feel that there's other energies around you, making sure that you're calling in those that are of the most light.
Yes, yes. We were, before this started recording, Christina and I were talking about how to navigate the energies. And if you want to utilize this energy whenever you have the veil being thinner in between here and the other side, if you will, then there's two things you want to keep in mind. Number one is intention, and number two is conviction. And intention is making the statement, creating the desire and the focus that you're only going to connect with those that have your highest good, health, wealth, and well-being in mind. And it also is about conviction. And this is where you state it with grounded power, where you trust yourself and you trust the universe, and you basically declare it as so. And if you do those two things, you don't have to worry as much about vibration, especially since it's a little chaotic right now. And your vibration, your emotions might be all over the map. So you want to allow yourself to focus on your sense of well-being as best you can. But with conviction and intention, you've got your bases covered. You've already created that safe space so that if you are a little bit not quite feeling as good emotionally as you prefer to connect, you are still in a safe place to do so, to also get really good, high quality, loving information from those that are on the other side.
Oh, that's great. And that's perfect kind of insight to have, because, these synchronicities and things like that, they want us to pay attention to them. And sometimes they're just unmistakable. When you get the email that was like a mistake and, but it has like the information you need to know. These are the things that we want to pay attention to. And we might even get that surge in our body and like, oh, wow, this was a message for me. Because during this eclipse time, it's really about getting in like a peek into the future, or a peek into future potential. And also, the more that we are aligned with our path and our authenticity, the less of a huge correction that we likely will need to have, right? Because, those of us that know like sort of who we are, who we're becoming, we understand that we always have, like you were saying, this access to the source of energy within us. Now that source, we're going to see these power outages and power surges, as the eclipses, take away the sun or take away the light of consciousness, and then come back, even stronger. That can be really disorienting for people, especially people that don't realize, that we always are connected to a source of power, a source of light, our life force. So as the life force is sort of waning or growing or changing on us, it kind of like, if we have like a stream from the faucet, right? Just expecting that stream, which we consider to be, maybe like our mojo, right? I hear a lot of people say things like, oh, I'm losing my mojo. I lost my mojo. Well, and sometimes there's nothing we can do, like what do we do when we are desperate to get back our confidence, or to get desperate to get back our sense of purpose in life? We want to try not to get to the space of desperation. And we were saying it's kind of ironic that I'm sitting here in this new apartment, but like I'm between these two doors, right? Because, we usually think in life we only have like choice A or choice B. I can either be totally happy, love, and light, or I can be a totally crazy mess, like, nobody, everybody leave me alone, get away from me. But the beauty of these eclipse times is it maybe opens a new window of possibility. A new space to move within us, right? And new spaces of opportunities in life, because the normal modes of being may not be accessible for a time. It's like, even like say in a retrograde, which actually we're going to also have Mercury retrograde coming up too, which is like, yes, it's just going to be madness. But now see, with Mercury retrograde as well, we see, people say, oh, it's just crazy time. Well, if any planet that's acting not normal as we expect it, then yeah, there are things from that planet that we expect to get that we will not have access to either during a retrograde or during eclipse. But then there are other things that we normally cannot access that we do have access to. You know, I mean, Mercury retrograde, you can come up with some really brilliant ideas. You can come up with some great partnerships. You can, I mean, I'm part of the New Paradigm Astrology community, which is led by Kai Pacha, who is like a huge beloved figure, huge internet sensation. And I was asked about a year and a half ago during a Mercury retrograde to be one of his dream team astrologers. And I thought, oh, this is Mercury retrograde. Oh, what's going to change with this? You know, because usually you enter into a contract and then afterward things might change. Some people might have a change of heart. What happened with us was, and these can be great opportunities. I knew it was an opportunity I could not say no to. After Mercury retrograde, then it was like, oh, well, you know, you still have to kind of audition. You still have to kind of, you know, prove yourself a little bit before you're officially a dream team member. And I was like, okay, I knew there was a catch. But, you know, so then I did that, and then it's been like one of the best opportunities of my career so far, you know.
Right.
And
so what's the lesson? Is it that you will want to expect that something might shift, but it's still wise to take appropriate aligned action during Mercury in retrograde?
Yeah, I would say so. You know, there's a brilliant astrologer, Nick Dagan Best, who did a huge, you know, study of some really big musical bands, like from the Beatles to like I don't know, the Doors, or like he did like a bunch of them. I think most of them are from the 60s, like really famous bands. And they all had signed their first, I think even Bob Dylan might have been one. They all had signed their first record deal during a Mercury retrograde. Now, later, some of them became so famous, and the deal itself was not good, you know, it wasn't to their benefit, and they want to get out of it, or they want to change the terms, right? The thing is just making sure the terms are good, not, you know, rushing too much. But this is the thing is, if you say no to some of these amazing opportunities during Mercury retrograde, they might not come again, right? And the point was in this study is that if these, you know, bands said, oh, this is Mercury retrograde, I can't sign it, you know, they might not have gotten that opportunity. So there isn't a one size fits all thing. All we know is this is a time when, you know, especially this month, there's a lot of Leo energy, a lot of fire in the sky, which we can also see fire in our world as well, like literal fire. And with fire it can come enthusiasm. It can come, you know, we can be like wanting to move fast. We can be very impatient. There's also a lot of Uranus activity, so we're going to be very impatient. But we also want to, you know, just know that going in and just say, you know, as much, even though there are some great opportunities that could come along, we still want to take a breath, get back to our center, and, you know, try not to just, again, react in ways that aren't really to our best benefit.
I love that.
With that, is it okay? I'd like to show you some slides that I have that might help to put this whole eclipse period in some perspective.
Yes, I'd very much love that. Thank you.
Great. So I'll share my screen. Okay, so I started out with this really, this is just a great idea to keep in mind during eclipse season. The Tibetan Buddhists believe that on solar and lunar eclipses, the effects of positive and negative actions are multiplied by 10,000 times. Now, I've heard also some places that it's just 1,000 times for lunar eclipses and 10,000 times for solar eclipses. I guess it just depends on, you know, where you're getting the information. But in general, this is the overriding idea, is that during these eclipses, you know, our karma is increased. And I mean, I would take the word of Tibetan Buddhists, right? Because they spend their existence trying to understand our karma and karmic implications. This is why during eclipses, it's really important to take some time in meditation, in reflection. Tibetan Buddhists consider them days of observation. And so what are we observing? We're observing the self. We're observing our shadow. We're observing our light. We're observing what's truly working for us, right? When it comes to karma, we want to take responsibility for what we've set in motion. And so these are some of the sort of reflections we want to have during the solar and lunar eclipses, but also any kind of positive actions we can take are multiplied energetically throughout the universe. So we want to be taking positive action, doing things to benefit the community, benefit Mother Earth, benefit nature, benefit those we love. And just knowing that, these are times where a ripple effect can really be seen like throughout the world and throughout time, really.
Great.
Did you have any questions on that?
I think it's beautiful that, I don't have questions. I just want to say that I think it's beautiful that it amplifies, and to keep that in mind, like, especially with the knowledge that even though your energy might not feel stable, it's still safe to put your attention and your focus exactly where you want it to go as best you can, where you want it to be amplified as best you can, and just trust yourself, to take those appropriate actions. I think action is the key word here, not necessarily I feel super happy right this second, right? Because it will bring, like you mentioned, it brings up the shadow, and that's perfectly and complete exactly as it is. So I just wanted to add that. So, like, focus on the actions as best you can, aligned actions, meditate, connect with your inner self, your inner being as best you can, and then honor what wants to come forth from you during this time.
Yes, and during this time, I mean, I've been observing eclipses for, several years now, and it's amazing how, again, sometimes we don't feel like ourselves. But, how much, do we think during life, gosh, I'd love to be another person, or I'd love to be different than I normally am, So these can be times where it can be, if we can take it on as a great time to experiment. I mean, it's not really a time that we really want to just bring in fear. We want to bring in just some curiosity. And I've actually, when it's been an eclipse that has been, particularly beneficial to me, after the eclipse you're kind of like bummed. It's like, oh man, it's over. It's like now we're like dropped back down to earth. So we are in, again, this liminal space, and a space of luminosity where the future and the past and the present are sort of in flux, like constantly in flux, and I'll talk a little bit about that. And so eclipses come in pairs twice per year. So we had an eclipse pair in February this year, and then this in August is this eclipse pair. And, the eclipses can be stronger or not depending on, several different astrological things, which I won't get into too much detail. Although, of course, a total eclipse is like the most potent. So this solar eclipse coming up in August 21st, is a total solar eclipse. And so that's one of the reasons why everyone is really excited about it. And so, the eclipses come in pairs. You're always going to have a lunar eclipse, which is a full moon, or a solar eclipse, which is a new moon. And sometimes a lunar eclipse will come first, or a solar eclipse will come next. It just depends. But this time we have a lunar eclipse on August 7th and a solar eclipse on August 21st. So the eclipse portal opens July 23rd, which was the Leo new moon. We just had that. And then we have the two eclipses, and this is really sort of like this vortex of intensity here between the August 7th and the August 21st new moon. And then the eclipse portal closes 2 weeks after that. So this is a 6-week period of the eclipse vortex, or the eclipse portal. And if you'll notice, there's 2 Leo new moons. There was the July 23rd Leo new moon, and the big solar eclipse is also a Leo new moon. on August 21st. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. But again, this is like a 6-week period that we've already started into. And it can be a time of feeling disoriented, right? It can be a time where we don't quite know which direction we're going. You know, we don't quite know, am I still stuck in the past? And, you know, sometimes we can feel like we're catapulted into the future. And at other times we can feel like, you know, we're stuck in the mire of the past. But what usually happens is the future and the past and the present all kind of just gel together. So that's what can be a little disorienting for people. And that's when you really, again, need to come back to your center and just know that this is a temporary time and that everyone's going through it in some way, right?
Yes. And one thing, we got caught off right before this part. So I just want to mention something we talked about right before we got cut off. And that's that a whole bunch of sensitives told me they're feeling the portal open on the 23rd. So this is really important to keep in mind, especially if you've been following me or Christina's work for a while and you've been feeling it. These energies affect us, and it's really wise to stay a little bit in tune with what's going on. That way you can make appropriate preparations, because especially if you felt it on that new moon and it felt a little bit full of anxiety, or you felt unstable energetically, this is a really good thing to follow. Okay, I just wanted to mention that before we moved on. Go ahead, Christina.
Perfect. Thank you. And just a little, you know, just to see like what the lunar eclipse. So we start with the first lunar eclipse, which will be August 7th, as I said. It's a full moon. And what always happens at a full moon is the sun and the moon are opposite with the earth in between, right? And so for an eclipse, you know, the moon is aligned with its path of orbit. And so what we'll see is the light of the moon is in shadow from the point of view of the earth. And so what that means is, you know, we consider the moon in astrology, the moon is the mother. It's our sense of home. It's our sense of safety, emotional safety. And so this is when we can maybe feel a little insecure. The big word is insecure, right? Because the moon is about our sense of security. And we can suddenly feel insecure, either just in, you know, not knowing how to trust ourselves, not knowing maybe who to trust in our life, not knowing how to fulfill our needs. And again, these are always times where we can find new ways of caring for ourselves, new ways of caring for others, and in ways that nurture us and nurture who we're becoming. And so again, that lunar eclipse, August 7th, is a full moon in the sign of Aquarius. Aquarius, you know, the shadow of Aquarius is feeling alienated, right? Because Aquarius is about the collective. You know, it's about being part of something bigger than oneself. But when Aquarius is in shadow, we can maybe feel like we're standing all alone, you know, like we have no one understands us. You know, we're an alien to our community. We're an alien in our life somehow. But the beauty, the bright side of Aquarius is when we can say, you know, I'm truly authentic to who I am and not really needing all that validation from others, being able to stand for who you are. And so you want to find that balance between being able to really stand for who you are and your beliefs, you know, but not feeling so alienated that you don't feel nurtured and cared for by your community. So, you know, this is a theme that we may be feeling, you know, that we may see more of with this Aquarius full moon. So the moon's light is obscured by the Earth's shadow at the lunar eclipse, which means there can be an absence of past conditioning, because the moon also signifies our conditioning, right? Like, and when we say conditioning, you know, when we're born and when we're babies, our first job is like, I need to be fed, you know, I need nourishment, I need touch. and we'll do whatever it takes to get that. So for our first, 5 years, even before language, we are being conditioned on how to get love, how to get attention, how to get food, all the stuff we need. And that is ingrained in us to the level of breathing and blinking, like a subconscious. And this is what the moon signifies. And so when we have an absence of that moon's light, there's something about our past conditioning that it almost leaves us. But think about how liberating that can be. That can also open us up to new ways to meet experiences, new ways to meet our emotional needs. This is also a south node full moon, which means, the south node is the dragon's tail. It's about these karmic experiences of the past. We can bring them to a resolution. Maybe there's something that's been gnawing at us, in our communities. Because again, Aquarius is especially aligned with community. Maybe there is something that we had just not been facing, that it's time to bring to light and that we'll want to face, just in order to bring it to resolution. And these can be ancient, these can be, ancestral karmic experiences as well. Things to do with the far past, our family past. How have we felt alienated that we want to put that to rest finally?
I like that. That's beautiful.
Great. Did you have any more questions on that, or
basically, to sum up, I just want to make sure that we understand this is a great time to create new ways of meeting our own emotional needs and release past conditioning that no longer serves us, while of course taking care of ourselves for the ways that we're used to, where we're taking care of ourselves pretty well, as well as tying up loose karmic ends. This is a good opportunity to tie them up, release them fully, and have that peaceful resolution. Is that pretty much good? Excellent.
Yeah, and also, because this whole time period here is about the Leo Aquarius axis, and so these are opposite signs, right? And so Leo is about me, all about me, my ego, me shining, me being the best I can be, my life purpose, me being the star, the king or the queen of my realm. Whereas Aquarius is opposite that. Aquarius is all about, the collective good. I always think of it as the Aquarius is the audience and Leo is the star on the stage, And there are times when we want to be part of the audience, part of a great movement. But then there's other times where we want to be the one on the stage shining. And that takes confidence, and that takes belief in oneself. So this whole time period, we're trying to find a balance between these two very opposite needs and desires. Aquarius is detached and Leo is passionate and excited, And so we might find ourselves going through these they're extremes, it's where has being detached served me or not served me, and where has being confident and enthusiasm and in love with myself, how does that serve me? Beautiful. So this is the main theme happening right now with these eclipses. And so with the solar eclipse, it's the opposite. So here's us and the Earth. And then the moon is between, the moon orbiting around the Earth, the moon is between the sun and the Earth. So the moon's shadow is covering the light of the sun, is blocking the light of the sun. So in this case, with the solar eclipse, for a brief period, the sun's light is blocked by the moon. So we won't have the sun's light. And even though the total solar eclipse is only 7 minutes long, they say for every minute of the eclipse, it affects us for a year. So that is a 7-year effect of this eclipse. That's why it's really important on the day of the solar eclipse to be doing some kind of manifestation or intention that has a 7-year trajectory. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think that there might be a party coming for spiritual mechanics soon.
I mean, it's, for my group, like I told you, I'm going to be doing, and I'll talk a little bit about that later, a, an eclipse circle, which I do at every eclipse season. But we're going to be doing some major manifesting on that solar eclipse. Because a solar eclipse is like a new moon on steroids, right? And if you're using it right, then it can really, new moons are great for planting seeds to manifest later. So when you're aligned and when you're being conscious and thinking about what you really want to manifest, this is the perfect time to be planting those seeds and be putting some miracle grow on them.
After this, make sure to tell us about that. And then Jade just reappeared.
Oh,
as soon as you started mentioning
her right now, but
like manifesting and the circle you're doing, like she started meowing. I don't know if you could hear it or not.
Oh no, I didn't hear that. Yeah. Oh, okay, so she's in, right? I'll sign her right up. So get into the early bird.
Early cat, isn't that? All right.
Oh. Okay, so I think most people have seen this. This is the path of the eclipse. You can Google Great American Eclipse Path, and there'll be plenty of different maps to show up. That'll show, exactly where you can view, where the eclipse will be viewable. But it's said that where the eclipse is visible, that part of the earth will have the most powerful effect. So here, and in your area, you'll be able to see it from your area, right? Or close by.
9.8% eclipse from my house. I checked that out. And so, I have full access to all of the eclipse energy, and I will be utilizing that. It's going to be a really beautiful day.
It would be a great time to maybe do a talisman or something like that, like something, most of us put our crystals out during these new moons and full moons, which is great for charging them. But you want to look at, which one thing we'll be doing in my group is a talisman, which is something that you can always, that you'll always have with you that can access the power of its eclipses. Because again, new moon in Leo, I know you're a Leo, it's especially important for you. Yeah. And it'd be a great time to make a talisman for confidence, right? So anytime if we ever feel like we're lacking our confidence, we can't find our mojo, whatever, we have our talisman made during the eclipse that we can always, just give us that extra boost.
Excellent.
Okay. And so the big one, the solar eclipse, the Great American Eclipse, is August 21st. Again, that's that second Leo new moon. For those of you that know your chart, it's at 28 degrees Leo. And so as we said, the sun's light is obscured by the moon's shadow. So the sun is our light of consciousness. It's our life force, our life purpose. And when it is blocked, it gives way, consciousness gives way to the subconscious, right? Those things that drive us that, we feel like we don't have control over. And so this is why we really want to look at, where do we stand in our own way? Where do we let our fears drive us or our insecurities drive us? And we may be seeing, we'll see parts of ourselves that we might not recognize. But it is in order to bring it through consciously so that we can know ourselves at a deeper level. Now, during a solar eclipse, it's said that because the sun is our huge ball of light and life force. So at the solar eclipse, there's usually a huge power outage followed by a power surge.
And you're talking energetic, right?
Yeah, energetic. Well, who knows how it will show up, but energetically. Yes. And I know we were speaking about this before, that I've heard, people that have, say, a birthday like on the solar eclipse. That means the solar eclipse is on your natal sun in your astrology chart. And often, like at that particular birthday that year, they may feel invisible. I've heard a lot of people report they literally have used that word. I felt invisible. But I've also heard other people who were more like, had been on the spiritual path for a long time, had been really sort of aligning with who they are authentically. And those people had reported that they actually enjoyed their birthday because they were surrounded just by the people that really knew and loved them. You know, they found a sense of peace that didn't need, you know, all this outside noise and all this outside, you know, validation. It's being able to align with your internal peace. So it can show us how, like, we can have a very different experiences on these eclipses. And, you know, I actually had one eclipse where it was amazing. I found myself in New York City. You know, I told some people online I was going to be there, and we had this amazing brunch where everybody came just to meet me and to hear about, like, the astrology I was sharing. And I felt like that gave me a peek into the future, into the possibilities. It's like, and this was a time where I think, you know, I was still early on with my astrology career, and I kind of, you know, there's part of me that thought, well, you know, is this what I should really be doing? You know, maybe, you know, whatever, maybe it's just too hard. And I had all this great, like, love and just encouragement from people that really just made me realize that there is some real value to this that's important to me, you know? And so we can get these, again, these like openings into the future. And these signs of when we're on our path and maybe when we're not on our path. And this particular solar eclipse is a north node solar eclipse. So that means the north lunar node, which is that node of destiny, is aligned with the sun and the moon. And so that can illuminate future possibilities of growth, because, as we said, the south node is tied to the past. The north node is about moving into the future. So this is a great time to be just looking at, observing, what is the future calling for me, especially in the area with Leo themes, about it being about me, it being about having a healthy alignment with my ego, with my ability to shine and bring my special destiny forward. Leos have a special destiny that they are here to fulfill. I mean, we all have our destiny, we all have our unique destiny, but sort of the signature with Leo is a special destiny. Now, even if we don't have planets in Leo in our natal chart, we all have a house that Leo rules. So we all have an area of life that Leo wants us to shine in, you know. And so in my group, in my tribe, we'll be doing, you know, things on looking at our charts and things like that, and they're not that complicated. And you can really find where you're meant to shine, and we'll see how much it resonates with us. But see, the lunar eclipse, as I said, you know, it can be very disorienting, and it can be exciting disorienting, or it can be like just really challenging disorienting. And it's because your normal orientation can be, you know, in flux. And so we just want to know that there's nothing wrong. This is some necessary changes that need to happen. And things can happen so fast. Things can happen at like a quantum rate, like sudden changes happening, you know?
So it's hold on, basically. Like, this is a good time to relax and allow the flow to go naturally, and to open to possibilities, because they're going to be there anyway. So you might as well expect them. And expect for the subconscious to arise. So that's really good. Yeah.
Right. And I also, you know, when people are asking, well, how will the eclipse affect me? So one of the important things to remember is, like, you know, sort of this eclipse effect, right? Is eclipses are often considered the midpoint of their effect. So for 3 months, this has been building. And it's actually, some people say for 6 months, which was the last eclipse period. But in general, the heightened area, like 3 months. So looking at, you know, look at these themes of Aquarius. What, in terms of groups, of causes, of your authenticity, of your feeling of alienation, you know, what's been building over the last few months? Right? And then in terms of the opposite sign, Leo, your ability to be courageous, to take risks, to find joy, to express your special destiny. What in that area has been building for 3 months? Something has been building. And then during that eclipse vortex period, things can just really take off. Things can really shift. And again, anything with astrology is going to affect people differently depending on their personal astrology, their personal astrology chart. So you really want to get an astrology reading from an astrologer, to get like deeper insight, because it will not affect all the billions of people on the earth the same, right?
Right.
But you can just generally, especially for those of you, I know a lot of your people, Erin-Ashley, are just so intuitive, so it just takes a little bit of reflection on like what has been building these past few months in these areas. And if you know your natal chart, you look to see what the house the eclipse falls in. The house is the area of life, and that can give you some more insight. And then, if you have planets or points at these degrees in your chart, so the signs that will be especially affected are Leo, Aquarius, Taurus, and Scorpio. Okay, these are the fixed signs. And so, Leo and Aquarius, they are on the axis. As I said, they're opposite each other. And they are square to Taurus and Scorpio. And so square is just like, these are these aspects that really kind of show up even bigger. And, when we look at these hard aspects. So Leo, Aquarius, Taurus, Scorpio are probably going to be especially affected depending on, where your planets are. But these are the guys. And this is actually, and I think we spoke about this before, this is like an 18-month thing with the North Node in Leo. So, these signs, like the past couple of years, it was the mutable signs of Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, and Libra. They got all the action, right? Now, over the next 18 months, most of the action is going to, when it comes to these sort of like openings of destiny, is going to be in these fixed signs, Leo, Aquarius, Taurus, Scorpio. And so I just wanted to make sure I mentioned anyone who's interested. I have this Great American Eclipse Circle, which will be from August 7th to 28th. It's a 4 module event. Every Monday during this 4 weeks, we'll be meeting online on Zoom. We'll be sharing about our eclipse experience. We're going to be doing some astrology. We'll be doing some alchemy, some magic, taking advantage of the juice of this time period. And we'll be talking about how we can help co-create our destiny with the universe with this really potent time of the eclipses. And you can find out more by going to radiantastrology.com and sign up for my newsletter, and I will get, you'll get all the details there.
All right, great. And so one thing I'd like to know, or I'd like my people to know, what's the number one reason to join? Like, how, other than the resonance, obviously I always recommend that people check into their intuition. Their own intuition will always guide them. But also beyond just the resonance, like what's the best part about these? I'm very familiar with your circles, so I have my own opinion here, which I'll do, but I want them to hear yours first.
The one thing that people, I have a group of, it's been all women. Men are welcome to join too, but we really bond during this time. And also because this is such a disorienting time in general for people, we can come together and it helps to ground us. And anytime you do any kind of, whether you want to call it magic or intention setting, when we can witness one another and like give our energy to one another's intentions, that can really help it to grow. And that can really help us to find healing. I consider these eclipses, I used to call them like the eclipse healing circles or something, because it's all about healing. But some people, they hear healing, they're like, but it's exciting. We're enthusiastic. But we also leave space for us to share, our breakthroughs and our breakdowns. And you can really gain some clarity on what's really happening in your life, and some perspective on really the story, because we are all on this great quest in life, and at every moment we can make choices and decisions that can alter our destiny. And so, we're a small group. We're usually only about I only like to have no more than 10 to 12 people. And so that everyone gets the chance to share and to be seen and witnessed. And they're really powerful. They're amazing.
Excellent. And what I was going to say was the community. I had the honor of speaking at one of yours, and it was so obvious from the very minute the call started that there was just this space of pure love and support. Everyone had a chance to be fully themselves, and they were held in this light of love, not just by Christina, but she built this entire community of people who held one another in that light of love and support. And of course, Christina was doing that as well. But it was just a really beautiful group. And I know that if this is calling to you, and community is one of those things that's really pulling at your heartstrings, then that's the kind of thing that you can definitely expect with Christina's Eclipse Circle, because that's what she does. That's what she does. So
thank you so much. That means so much to hear from you, Erin-Ashley.
You're welcome. Well, thank you so much for being our guest. And just one last thing, you can go ahead and get this good juju at radiantastrology.com. Hopefully by the time this video gets to you, I'll have a link somewhere where you can just sign up directly. But if not, then go to radiantastrology.com and Christina will hook you up. If you are watching this way after it happened, she does this almost every year. You can still sign up for her goodness, right? It's still going to be awesome.
Oh, yeah. They can always sign up at radiantastrology.com, and I do the new moon and the full moon reports every month. Yeah. And, just for free. The eclipse circles are every eclipse season. And I really, especially because this one is such a big, potent one. If you've been thinking about doing it, do not hesitate, because they're really amazing. And we just really love to welcome people with our full heart.
And that's beautiful. So thank you so much, Christina, for jumping on the call with me.
Oh, thank you, Erin-Ashley. This has been amazing. I really appreciate it. Thank you for this opportunity to talk to your amazing community.
Oh, you're welcome. It's just a love fest over here. So anyway, thank you so much. And I know we'll connect. She and I will connect offline here, or rather online, but you know what I mean. But yes, we will connect soon. And but yeah, go ahead and sign up for her stuff if it resonates. And I will see you in the group or wherever you are connecting with me soon. So have a good one.
Bye.